Sarah, what is the best Starburst color / flavor?
Hands down, yellow.
No.
I think you're going to say pink. I feel like you're a pink guy.
It's a strawberry. Pink strawberry, for sure.
Is pink strawberry?
Or whatever that pink is.
I like the lemon.
Because the red is the cherry.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's probably right.
But you're lemon.
Yeah,
Team
like
lemon.
one time I was at a gas station and I found they had like all the separate colors. So it's like you get all pink or you get all yellow. And I bought like all yellow and I ate an entire thing of yellow Starburst from like Lexington to Beaver Dam. If anybody knows where that is, it's not that far. And I ate like a whole sleeve of yellow Starburst.
All right, so you're telling me if we did a taste test right now, blind taste test, you'd be able to tell the Starburst flavors and you'd be able to pick out the lemon.
Yes, and later on tonight.
We're going to do this?
This is going to happen.
This is Pack Your Knives. I'm Tom Haberstroh.
And I'm Sarah Bradley.
Sarah, look at this. We're live. We're here at Supperland in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the episode was hosted by Jamie Brown and Jeff Tondandel, and we are here at Supperland, at like literally at the judges' table was right here where they dined, and it's a beautiful space, Sarah.
So here's what's so cool about like all the time, like we'll put stuff on the menu. I'll do like a cooking show. We put something on the menu because the joy is that you watch these people cook, but you never get to like taste the food.
Yeah.
So there are many a times where I've like watched the show and been like, I would love to like be in that space. And now I actually am. I feel like I'm like reverting back to like getting like the extra behind the scenes thing.
Yeah. So when you walk into this restaurant, are your eyes going straight towards the kitchen and you're just like, oh, if I was on Top Chef, what would I be doing here? Like, do you put yourself into the Top Chef mode, or are you as an owner of a restaurant mode, or just as a guest?
I think now at this moment, I'm like in Top Chef mode. I would have been livid if I had to go in that basement kitchen and cook and not get to use that amazing stove. Like that is what chefs dream of. That stove
right
back
here?
there, that oven,
Tell me about
that
it.
fire. Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's got the crank. I can picture it. Like people like, they're going to be fanning those coals. It's like such an art form to be able to cook on that. And I'm sure they all walked in and they were like, yes, we're going to get to use that stove. And they're like, and head on down to the basement where you can all fight for pots and pans.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I'm sure of it. So I
It's
think
like going to New Haven and like, oh, if you've ever heard of this pizza, you've ever heard of, you go to, essentially the greatest, in my opinion, Connecticut, where you're able to have New Haven style pizza. And then they're like, hey, let's go to Pizza Hut instead of going all to the best spots. And so you go into this kitchen, you're like, oh, this is beautiful. And then you got to go back into Top Chef mode where you got to cook and you're in your elements. And I just wanted to see if when you walk into a beautiful restaurant like this, are you always thinking as a chef, as a contestant?
I think when I walk into a space like this, I'm thinking as like a business owner. Like it's like the plates on the table are so cool and so bespoke. You know, like I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing like the church pews and the banquettes, how they're like tufted leather. You know, like you're always kind of looking for ideas as to like things you can do in your space. And so, yeah, I think when you walk in, you're like looking around, you're like, oh, I like that. I like that.
Well, you got in last night, and we're going to have Jamie Brown on the show later. Once we do this recap, which there's a lot going on in this episode, Sarah.
I'm a little heartbroken. A little heartbroken.
All right. Well, you shouldn't be, because you once again had the winning chef. Lawrence, your number one pick, won the episode. And this is something that I had to bring it to your attention. You didn't even know this, but your chefs have won 5 out of the 6 competitor challenges already. So we had Anthony winning a Quickfire. Yay, Anthony won a Quickfire. And that's the only one on my team that's done anything at the top. And you've had Rhoda and Chef Lawrence running the table so far.
I'm so sorry.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
You're not sorry at all.
But I'm not sorry at all. I do like, Rhoda and Lawrence, they're almost 2/3 of my points. They're 40. What do I have? I have.
You have a lot. I have a little.
You want to go ahead and say it out loud?
It's 60, and they have like 39 or 29 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I have 4, I think. 4 points. So bad. But we did a blind draft this year. If you haven't listened to it, you got to watch and listen to our blind draft. We typically watch an episode and then do a draft. But this year we did our first blind draft. I feel like we've done pretty well so far in pegging the different chefs. And of course, this could go off the rails at any point.
Well, I just like that it was, for me, it felt a little more like an experiment, like we weren't being persuaded. There was no there was a control to it. Like, here's the information. How do you see it's going to play out? As opposed to like, what do we think? What do the producers want us to see? How do they want us to feel about these people? So this was based solely on like their merits and their accolades. And I feel like I'm doing really good, man. Yeah. I hate it for you.
Yeah, Nana, bless her heart.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to Last Chance Kitchen. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I feel like she's got another chance to come back and have a redemption arc here. Unlike Jossie and unlike Day, because they're eliminated. And for the first time in the first 2 episodes, there is no Last Chance Kitchen for them. So Nana has a shot. We'll get to that later. But it was not a great showing this episode. We got Grumpy Tom, where he at a certain point he said literally like, I'm getting grumpy over here because they're just not doing a good job cooking. And so Sara, this episode I feel like was the first time where they really screwed up. They did not have a great showing in the elimination challenge. On
the Nana thing, she did have a top on the Quickfire, so there is a possibility that she really excels when she's given like this really hard time constraint and not like all of this time where she can dream really big. There's some chefs that do really good at Quickfires, and she might be the one that like brings it back. Like, yeah.
There's the theme of the elimination challenge was about color and dye and natural ingredients. I can already tell we haven't done the show before the show. I don't know any of your thoughts, but I can already tell you have similar thoughts on this as I do. But we'll jump right into the Quickfire, which is basically a North Carolina staple, especially in Western North Carolina, liver mush, and it is a 30%. Pork liver, pig liver, and then all sorts of other fun stuff in there with cornmeal. And this is something that maybe not like inside Charlotte, but outside of Charlotte and Western North Carolina, you're going to see a lot of this at the grocery stores. So I ask you, your impressions of when they announced that they were doing liver mush.
So I don't have a lot of ingredients that I really don't like, but one of them is pig liver. I think it has this like very like iodine, I hate to say it, like urine, like astringency to it. It's the one thing. I will be honest, I've never had liver mush.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of like a scrapple or maybe like Geta, which is kind of, Cincinnati. It's kind of the same thing, but it's set with still cut oats as opposed to cornmeal. But yeah, I'm going to try it. I'm here. I'm in Charlotte. I'm going to find a piece of liver mush. I'm going to mush it into my mouth.
Well, you know what? In the next edition of your cookbook, you're going to have some liver mush. I forgot we buried the lead. Congratulations on your cookbook coming out. September 29th, pre-order it now. The Kitchen I Come Home To.
Yeah.
Sarah Bradley's first cookbook.
I know. It's Big Flavors and Tall Tales from my corner of Kentucky.
Look at you.
Yeah, it's so cool. It did really well. It was like, I had no clue that it would be like, I would get on and it'd be like, for days, like #1 on Amazon's like pre-orders or like new releases. And I was like, this is crazy because you put so much work into it.
Yeah.
And then to finally get to show it to everybody, it's like really rewarding.
Is there a Geta recipe in there or anything, something similar to a liver mush?
There is. There's actually quite a few. So there's Geta meatloaf, which is like what we do in the restaurant. There's chopped liver, which is like my mother's grandmother's recipe, but we refine it a little bit. Yeah, so there's like, maybe you mush those two together and
mush them.
Mush them.
Because I've had it before when I was a kid. My grandfather was in North Carolina, and it's like a kind of a sausage substitute in the breakfast sort of. Maybe you fry it in a pan and then throw some butter in there and on bread or eggs on top or something like that. And I distinctly remember it as a kid not really understanding what sausage, the difference was a sausage. It just was a different type of sausage in my head when I was a kid, but I haven't had it recently. But when you're a chef and you have to cook with that, where does your mind go?
Oh, I would have gone like straight Jew there. I would have been like, we're making chopped liver. You know, I would have figured it out somehow. I probably would have looked for some like other liver ingredients, maybe like where there's some chicken livers in there, where they're a way to like really pull that in. But I probably would have gone like liver mush. I'm thinking like horseradish, dill, like black pepper, that kind of vein. But I think that, you know, I saw some people like turning it into this like pate form, and I saw some people crisping it.
Yeah.
I think the crispy would have been the way to go.
I think that's the way. I would want it as crispy on the outside, like a blackening it, and then I guess the inside would be kind of tender. There's a different texture to it too, right? Than liver pudding or it's cornmeal, so there's kind of a not sandy, but you know what I'm saying. There's a texture to it, and this we open with Justin and Jennifer talking about her shoulder injury. I'm wondering, was there any injuries your 2 seasons on Top Chef that you can remember? Well, Gregory in his back, right? His back was locking up on him but
I wasn't on that with him, but he had to go, that was in the finale, and they had like flown to Italy maybe.
Yes.
And he had to like go get shots, and I think that's what took him out. Let's see, Brandon in Kentucky broke his toe. I don't remember how he did it, but his like middle toe.
How do you break a middle toe?
I don't know. But I remember he like took his foot off and it was just black. And there's nothing you can do about that. You know, like it was so bruised.
And she didn't participate in the Jennifer. She had to bow out of the Quickfire.
Yeah.
Which as a competitor, how do you feel about that when you're between the 4 lines and someone leaves in the Quickfire?
I mean, I think for the Quickfire, it's a little different. Did you give her points for her Quickfire? Or did you put her in the bottom, the Quickfire?
I actually didn't even consider that.
I think she goes bottom for the Quickfire. She didn't participate. She
you know
put
what?
Nothing up.
I think you're right about this. I need to give her a -1 for being just a DNP on that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because she's on my team. She's on
my team. You got Justin.
So give him an additional negative point, please.
Wait, you're running up the score. You're going to mercy rule me.
I know. I don't know. What were we talking about?
Oh, it just hurt. Her shoulder.
Her shoulder.
And
Brandon.
She's not.
I feel like there were some other injuries. There's always like, Gabri on World All-Stars. He was like running. This man was a crazy man. He was always running everywhere, and he slipped and he busted his knee, and it was like swollen and painful, and it really hurt him for a couple weeks.
I'm telling you, Top Chef is a sport.
I know.
It is.
I know.
The physical, the mental, all of it, the endurance. And what we're seeing in this episode is there's a mixed crowd about liver mush. I think Dwayne said, I hate it. It's just cat food, someone said. But Anthony was like, hey, I eat this stuff all the time. Scrapple, it's a derivative of that. So I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing there. And Anthony, he nailed it with the tomato dish. Sara, he did a pate with tomatoes, cayenne pepper to give it some pop and spice. With it was smart. He did croutons of liver mush, and they loved that dish. They found it to be colorful, vibrant, and cornmeal. Again, I buried the lead. Terrible job of hosting this. Emeril Lagasse is on this episode.
I know.
And so there's one thing to cook liver mush, and it's another to have to cook this thing for Emeril Lagasse. So he's eating all this stuff, which adds another dimension to this.
Yeah, I can picture Emeril eating liver mush for breakfast. I can like see him. He's like at his table. He's got like liver mush, and he's like, bring me liver mush, and he's like, hitting the table
straight raw from the package.
Oh yeah,
uncooked.
I have to say, I'm looking back at my notes, and I remember thinking, Anthony, genius. I thought he was making dirty grits. So it's dirty grits is like a thing we make in the restaurant. It's like grits, and we use chicken liver and pork in there, and like that would have been, there's already cornmeal, so like you could have totally gone like a dirty grits style thing. Anthony, great.
Yeah, finally got me some. Yeah. For my #1 pick.
I know.
Rhoda had she once again, Rhoda just continues to bring it. She did the Spanish meatballs, albondigas, and she really, she nailed that once again. She does a great job. It was a was it panade? The cornmeal served as a panade in there?
It's usually like when you take like bread and cream and egg, or you use something to kind of emulsify a meat and hold it together. Think like meatloaf. You know, your mom always put like crackers and milk in it. You know, that could be considered a panade.
Yeah, and they thought that was a great idea. And then Dwen, with her dish, was the banh mi. Loved it.
I was like, that's what she needs to make, right? Like I thought in my head, she's got to make a banh mi because it's perfect. It looked a little sloppy when they first bit into it. I was like, oh no, they're not going to like this. It was like a whole piece of chicken came out, but they loved it.
It might have been a case of it. They liked it. Maybe not loved it, but the other ones didn't really come together, and so she was going to be in the top 3. So it worked out. I think the execution, the Vietnamese influence, I think it was really smart to do a banh mi. And the other ones, the arpège egg, there was the eggs Benedict that the brothers did. In the bottom 3, Nana just didn't have any liver mush in the dish, just wasn't able to infuse that flavor in there, and so she was in the bottom. And surprisingly, Lawrence, his was just too wet. It was a wet mush that they didn't like the texture of that, the dish that he put together, which I thought was actually going to do much better, his Cantonese style steamed egg.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw him closing it up and putting the lid on there, I did not think that one was going to work out. I felt like they tried to give you like a little trick, like a little twist, like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, the edit.
And I saw them cut into it and I was like, oh, that's not good. That's
Didn't seem to come together.
Yeah. It looked like it was oversteamed. Maybe the bowl had caught too much water. I'm not really sure, but didn't look good.
So you would have done a pate?
No, I probably would have done like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. My husband's always like, Sarah, what would you do in this exact moment? He pauses it. And I'm like, I have no clue until you're there. You can't think. You can always think back on like what you would have done. I do that quite often, still to this day.
Yeah, it seems like when we look at this liver mush, it's an acquired taste. And it's hard, if you've never had it before, it's hard to understand the texture, but they were trying it. I'm sure they were able to taste it and figure out where they wanted to go. It was a solid Quickfire. They did an okay job. And Rhoda comes out with, another point here in our point system. And Dwen gets a point for my team, Anthony. And in the bottom, Nana, Lawrence, and Brittany. Brittany just... it was dry. It was off the mark, they said. The pate liver mush with the grape mostarda. I think she tried to do the fried, crispy pate, but it just was way too fried and just dried out.
So, the only way to get crispy like that is to literally cook all of the moisture out of it, right? So she put it in the fryer, and she's like, the only way to get it crispy is to get all of the liquid out, right? Because liquid, and it makes things soggy. So I have to imagine, it was so dark. Like it looked almost like a overcooked little piece of Melba toast. Yeah. I'm sorry, Brittany.
Yeah, I know. There's actually a Top Chef kind of get together at Stagione Sala, the sister restaurant next door to Stagione tonight. And we're going to go, check out that. And Seeger's going to be there, and Anna's going to be there. We're not going to get Brandon, who tells the story of how he late at night would be watching Emeril Lagasse on TV with his brother. Mm-hmm. And it was this really nice story. And then he tells the part about his stepfather thought, hey, what are you watching in here? Porn or something like that? He's like, no, it's Emeril Lagasse. And that was a great little anecdote here. Who hasn't watched Emeril Lagasse late at night?
Oh yeah, it was like food porn for them though. You know, like it turned into...
Was there someone like that for you, where there's someone on TV that you said, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to be a chef one day?
I don't know. When I was young, there weren't that many chefs on TV. There was like Ming Tsai, East Meets West.
Yep.
There was Emeril. I feel like Rachel Ray was there.
I think Alton Brown was the big one.
Alton Brown was there. But I would come home and I would like sit at this corner of our little bar in the kitchen, and I would eat Cheetos and just watch, like just meticulously watch these people cooking food until my mom got home and made us help her cook dinner.
Yeah, there's Cheetos everywhere, Cheeto dust all over your house.
I love Cheetos so much.
Well, as much as you loved the Cheetos growing up, I don't know if Cheeto dust was one of these ingredients for the Elimination Challenge. I don't think it's natural ingredient.
It is. It has a natto in it.
Oh, yeah.
It has a natto. It has a natto. That is like what they use to give, that's like what gives cheddar cheese that color. And so I looked one time and I someone can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that it does not have food dye in it. It's almost all annatto.
Huh. Well, then I approve. Cheetos should have been the sponsor for the challenge. It's been great.
So. Yeah.
Well, we had so Jamie's going to talk about it in a little bit, but I have my thoughts on this elimination challenge. You're supposed to create a dish with at least 2 naturally dyed foods. The cook time is for 2 hours. There's a 30-minute shop at Whole Foods, which I think might have been the Waverly Whole Foods. It looked different than the Uptown Whole Foods. And maybe it's because it just is a bigger space. But they usually were at the Uptown Whole Foods, from what I can tell. My wife is watching and she's like, that's the Uptown one. This one I think was south, maybe a bigger one that had maybe more that you could shop with. I don't think this was a good promo for naturally dyed color in your foods, because it just didn't seem like there was much color in the dishes. And at the end of the day, I was like, this didn't really seem all that colorful at all. It actually was the opposite. A lot of black and gray colors to it. And I don't know, it felt like it wasn't a great, it didn't seem like the chefs were able to bring through the color in a way that you wanted. I have in my notes challenge. And then the first thing I'm like, oh, it's the challenge. I'm getting ready to take notes on the challenge. And I have written, I hate this challenge. Like, I think that this challenge. So here's the deal. Those natural ingredients, like they're like, give us color. I can see it right now. The judge is going to be, give us color. Those things don't impart as much color as you think. And if they do, they impart a flavor. Like you can't just, it's not like you're just dropping red 40 in there and then all of a sudden you have red velvet cake, right? Like it is a different thing. So you have to be able, if you're going to use those in such a way that it really, really, really affects the color, you have to be ready for it to affect the flavor. And I don't know that I can tell you what chlorophyll tastes like. I mean, I can imagine what it tastes like. I was just going to say, I didn't even know that was a cooking ingredient that chefs might use is chlorophyll. Is it grassy? Okay.
Give us the list. This is what we came up with so far.
Yeah, they didn't do it on the show. At least the one that we saw, they didn't show like a list of all the ingredients, but we were able to sleuth this and try to piece it all together. So I have the list: carrot powder, tomato powder, fresh marigolds, black seedless grapes, liquid activated charcoal, not just charcoal, liquid activated charcoal and activated charcoal, like powder, hibiscus, black rice, matcha, achiote paste, saffron, blueberries, curly kale, red cabbage, chlorophyll, guajillo peppers, golden beets, red beets, annatto, turmeric, spirulina, pea powder.
Pea flower powder.
Pea flower powder, and that's about 30 ingredients here. There was a very blue thing that we saw. Was that spirulina?
That's spirulina, yeah. At least I think so. I couldn't zoom in close enough to figure it out.
I felt for the chefs here. I felt like, man, how are we going to bring in all this color here? But I don't know if I can really do that and still have a good tasting dish. Because the best Top Chef dishes are 3 things. Creative, like clever use of the challenge. It looks beautiful, and then it tastes amazing, right? And I feel like it's really hard to do all 3 of those things in this challenge, which I guess is the challenge.
Yeah, I'm going to say I hated this challenge. I think that I didn't like it all the way through. The whole time I'm like, what in the world is happening here? Because they gave us a thing. They're like, the number one part of this whole challenge is presentation, right? Like, and I just don't, as you guys have seen my food and eaten my food. And for me, I would eat an ugly plate of food that was absolutely delicious over something that was like so overworked. And I feel like they're asking people to put the presentation first. And I don't love those challenges. It
is. I actually think it brings the colors of Supperland out, because it was like when they brought out the dishes, I was like, there's so much color in the restaurant and on the table. It's so beautifully decorated, and look at these flowers and these colors and it's popping in the outfits. And then there was like a black pork dish, which is just okay. All right, well, let's just get into it. So Anthony decides to use the green chlorophyll. Emeril and Tom decide, hey, we're going to go visit the Top Chef kitchen, which always raises your blood pressure, right? When you see not only Tom, but the guest judge walk through as you're cooking.
Yeah, you're like literally trying to figure out how long till they get to me. I sometimes would, if I was like really focused on something and they were like coming my way, I would just leave my station. and they would have to like come back. They would have to like come back to me after I was done. I would just like go hide.
It's like a game of tag in the kitchen where they're just like chasing after you. Like, no, I don't have it yet.
I'm not ready.
Do you know ahead of time that they're going to come through, or is it a surprise?
Oh no, they're coming. He always comes. That's like his thing, right? I can't think of a time he didn't come in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's always there. You know he's coming in his little white chef coat with the top button undone, and I'm like, I don't want to be like, chef, button that up. Like, button it up. Yeah, button it up.
Does he have is he asking specific questions, or is he just observing?
He will ask you a question in a way that's like, so like he says, oh, so, you know, Dwayne says, I'm going to leave this puree white. You know, I've got this white person who's like, oh, white. You know, this is a challenge about color. And then later on, she serves the puree, and he's like, and what color is this? And she's like, gray. You know, like he puts it in your head that like you know, he's like, you're not going to do it this way. And then if you do it that way, like they were totally bashing the deconstructed lasagna.
Oh yeah, as soon as it happened, you could tell.
They're like
deconstructed, huh?
They're like talking smack on the way out of the kitchen. And then you could see on his face when he served it, he was like, damn it, I have to say this is good.
Yeah. Speaking of Anthony and the green, we had the Seeger Rhoda little shot of Oscar, Brittany, Seeger Rhoda having what I call the green gang, the green jammies. We don't really get much of them at the stew room or this season so far. We'll probably get it as we get deeper into the competition when there's more time that we can get to know these folks. I'm sure you appreciated that they're kind of...
I started thinking back to like both seasons and just to all the shows I do. This is a time where you're like, you kind of can settle in, you kind of are figuring out what's going on, and you're starting to form little cliques, right? And you're riding 4 deep in cars right now. And so all of a sudden you get in the same car every morning with the same people. And you can see it starting to take shape.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing, because I think the people that can find each other and like be trustworthy of like, hey, how does this taste? I think they do well. I think they go far.
You got to find your people that you can trust them to not be like, oh yeah, it tastes great. Actually, it's terrible. No, yeah. And Seeger in this little gang that they have together, he's going to be at this thing tonight. So that's going to be really cool to see Brittany and Seeger at this. You know, they got their green jammies on. They're all about self-care. And Oscar continues to shine in this show. He's really fun. He's got some great one-liners.
He's fan favorite right now. For me, fan favorite.
He's awesome.
Yep.
He's on my team, by the way. Do I get extra fan favorite points?
No.
Can I do that?
I mean, if you lose miserably, I'll give you a couple points.
Okay, thank you.
I'll give you a couple points.
I'm going to need it because Nana... when she brings out the chicken galantine, your thoughts are what?
Okay, so I have challenge. All right, I hate this challenge. Number 1, or that's number 1. Number 2, what can be worse than a duo? I say, Lawrence, it's a trio. That's what I write down. Number 3, I say, Nana, bye-bye. Those are my first 3 notes that I make from the entire thing. Who makes a galantine? Who says I'm going to take one of the most difficult things? I'm going to debone an entire chicken. I'm going to make mousseline to stuff it, which the mousseline was not even a mousseline. It was just like crab with green stuff. And like she put the greens in and they were so wet. From the moment she started, I knew she was gone. That was it. There's no way.
From a time standpoint or a flavor standpoint? Like a challenge standpoint, you're like, this is not going to work out.
From an everything standpoint.
Okay.
You know, Brian made galantines for Restaurant Wars on season 16. And he was also the front of house manager. And he told everybody, he's like, I can do this so fast. Don't worry. I got it. Well, then after he said, I'm making galantines, he stayed up all night and wrote that like manual because he realized he was not going to have time to go out and talk to the front of the house. So he wrote this.
It's very labor intensive.
It's crazy. He wrote this huge manual so he could just go out and give it to them. And then he was in the back for a while. Like that is a tedious. And then she decides to like open them up and redo them on the second day. Like, oh man. And okay, so this is I'm going to tell you, I have written down donging, Donging. I don't know. We'll ask later if this is a term that you guys use in your kitchens, but I grew up in kitchens where donging is when you take plastic wrap and you lay it out and you put your galantine or your ballantine or whatever it is you need to wrap in a circle and you use it to roll and she is trying to dong. I don't know if this is, do you use this word, donging? Okay, I'm asking another chef that's sitting off camera right now. She is trying to roll it up, but she doesn't have enough plastic on the ends to be able to like use the plastic. So she is using this little tiny 12-inch plastic wrap, and she's making this galantine that's, you know, probably 8. Like it just, there's, from the beginning, everything about that dish was damned.
Right. And she's had time management issues going into this. So in her head, I would imagine she's having a moment of, hey, what can I do that will give me enough time, a little cushion to get everything done in the time that I need it? Because I've had issues with this before. And then she goes and she's doing the thing that it seems like on the top 5 most maintenance heavy dishes that's going to take a lot of attention and care. It seems like that's pretty, galantine is pretty high up on the list.
I have written down, this has to be one of the worst ideas I have ever seen on Top Chef. I am so sorry, sis. This is one where you have to like know that because you don't really have 3 hours, right? So you get 2 hours to cook and prep, but you don't really have that because you have to get started in the cook and prep in the kitchen. And then everything has to be put away. It's not like at, you know, the end of 2 hours, you just like are done and they're like, okay, wrap it all up. No, it has to all be in coolers, packed, ready to go. So you don't really have 2 hours. And then the next day they get an hour in the kitchen here at Supperland. And she's like, I'm going to redo this, but you don't really have an hour because you need 15 minutes to plate and you need, 10 minutes to get set up. So there's just no way it could have gotten done.
And it wasn't just her, right? It was Sherry decided to do this spätzle and the pork dish, which visually you can see like the centerpiece is the pork cut. It had a activated charcoal powder. Mm-hmm. And so it's black crusted pork, which when they have that shot of like, there's like 6 pork chops or whatever that are sitting there on the plate and it's just this black goo on top of it. I just said, how is she going to make this appetizing? Which is the opposite of the chop. I feel like if you're going to do color, don't bring black into it. Or at least have like Seeger tried to do this with like the squid ink or the black pasta sauce. And then it just smothered everything and took out all the color because you can't do a neutral black. There's no such thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think there could have been something. I don't know. I'm wondering what she did to that pork because she said she brined it in activated charcoal. And I'm going to have to look later and see if that has some effect on the meat. Number one, everybody remember, Tom Colicchio hates brined meat. That's like his thing.
Rule number one. Okra, brined meat.
He hates a brined meat. He's always like, why were they brining it? Why are they brining it? So if you've done your research, you would know that, one. But yeah, it's like, what did she do to it? And then she sous vide it, but she just kissed it on the grill. I'm excited to ask and find out what that pork tasted like.
Yeah, because Emeril was like, I'm still chewing on my first bite minutes later, which, oof.
That dish was I really like Sherry. Like, I think Sherry is she's on my team. I think she's going to go far. But that dish was one of those that I hate to see in Top Chef. And I promise, I'm not being so negative. I feel like I'm being
You've
negative.
been great. You've been very positive.
Okay, well.
For this entire season. So it's okay to be a critic sometimes.
Well, I'm positively sure that I don't like that dish.
Yeah.
I hate when they give you a thing and they're like, okay, here's this piece. Now I want you to build your own perfect bite. She has 3 condiments on the plate. She has the pork in the middle. She has the 3 spatzels that have been covered in a sauce. Now, here, you create the perfect bite. Like, what do you want me to put braised cabbage on it? Do you want me to put kumquat jam? Like, what do you want me to do? How do I do this? And so I don't love eating food like that. Like, I as a chef I want to build the plate the way I want people to eat it. And so
you don't need an instruction manual. It's just, I don't need to IKEA this dish and figure out, wait, what am I supposed to do here? So that did seem like there wasn't a roadmap for it.
Does the spatzel go with the acidic thing or the sweet thing? Or how does this work? Like, what do you want me to make? Do you want me to take a piece of pork and put one little piece of everything and eat it? No, I need you to just give me the dish the way you want me to eat it. And that's how it'll work. At
least it got on the plate because Nana didn't even get hers on the plate. Had another meltdown where it didn't work out. But Sherry at least got hers on the plate. But everyone else, it had a the bottom 3 was not a bottom 3. It was a bottom 9 pretty much. And I feel like it just wasn't a good cook, and Tom was really upset about it.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. I'm going to step in as my culinary producer. I don't know so much that this was the fault of the chefs, though. I think that this was a fault of the people that produced this challenge, because there's no way that 75% of the chefs just didn't do the challenge correctly. Yeah. There was one like this. I feel like there's one like this on every challenge. Like the brief is just, it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. I just think this was that. I'm hoping that this was that one for this season, and it's done and it's gone.
So Amira Casson was the guest judge here, along with Jamie and Jeff and Emeril. And she's from Flower Shop in New York City. And when she said that Oscar's dish was the least colorful ceviche she's ever seen, I was like, whoa, they're coming out with some harsh critiques here. It must be really a challenging challenge. Like when she's saying that, and the other dishes just didn't wow. And I think when Lawrence came out with the bao dish, I just thought that it was the surprise factor. They actually had 2, what do you call them? Glamour shots? What is the food, the beauty shot?
The beauty shot. It's the food porn shot. It's the beauty shot, though.
Yeah. They actually did 2 for his. I don't know if you caught this. They had a before and an after, and they sliced it open, and then they could show what was inside. And that surprise and the colorful elements and the different sprinkle of powder on top, I felt like he got the challenge, and it tasted good. And the troubling thing for me was what's worse than a duo is a trio, and yet it floated to the top, and he won the challenge. So I guess what does that tell you?
Carly, have we ever had another trio win a challenge in I don't think there was. And if you guys don't know who Carly is, they're on Track Your Knives, which is awesome. It's just this amazing show. They give us all the stats of everything Top Chef. So when you're done here, go listen to that. But has there ever been a trio win anything? Because I cannot think of a single one in all of my years watching Top Chef.
Especially this early, because there's so many dishes that could have won, but he floated to the top, and not in this particular challenge because everyone just didn't bring their A game, or at least it was a tough challenge. I felt like you had Lawrence, Anthony with the 3 moles, and then Brandon, his pasta was good. The pour, I could tell that it was really fun to eat. This one with the olive oil, kind of the little cup, and sometimes that can be gimmicky, but I think it actually really worked because of they were 2 different. It was a surprise, right? Yeah. When you poured it, it was like the oil and then the sauce came out together in different colors, and it added to the dish in ways that I felt like those 3 dishes, they figured it out and they were able to execute. But all 3 of them, it wasn't like a rainbow on the plate. Even Anthony, when the 3 moles were on there, my daughter, when she looked at it, she jokingly, she's 9 years old. When I was watching this episode, she said, Anthony, I'm sorry. But she was like, Daddy, that looks like diarrhea. And I was like, if you haven't had mole before, you might look at that and be like, that doesn't look all that appetizing. But to do mole and those 3 different flavors and present it in a way that brings out the colors, it's really tough to do that. First of all, to cook on a mole. But it's hard to bring a lot of color in that dish.
But what was so nice about it is it was distinctly 3 different colors. Even though they weren't the most vibrant colors, it distinctly was like you could see it. And that's the same thing with Lawrence's. It was 3. I mean, his were vibrant. The thing I think that a lot of the chefs missed out on, and I kept watching and I have this in my notes. I'm like, why are they not using the grapes? Okay, here's what I would have done. I would have had somehow in my dish, I don't know if it would have been pickled red onions. I saw one person do it. I think Jonathan did it.
Yes.
Would have had pickled red onions, or maybe purple cauliflower, or maybe, I don't know, anything. And blueberries, you can pickle blueberries, anything. I would have used the grapes and some red wine vinegar and been like, I made vinegar with black seedless grapes, and look at the color it turned my vegetable. Because, if you use red wine vinegar like on purple cauliflower, and I saw some in the Whole Foods market, that is how you get vibrant color. So I would have tried to use those in a way that not a cheat. It's not a cheat, but in a way that was like a different flip? Like, could somebody not just puree some spinach into their puree?
Yeah.
Could they not just put some spinach in their puree and make it bright green and then also add a little chlorophyll? Was there I'm wondering if that was part of the brief. I don't know.
I felt like, and we're going to talk to Jamie in a little bit about this, but I kind of felt like there was only 2 or 3 dishes that you would say felt like they were trying to get a lot of color on the plate. Otherwise, I felt like they were just dishes. Like the way they presented, they appeared, they were just dishes. You wouldn't have known that it was a bring color out dish for most of them. And so that's where I felt like, man, something went sideways in this episode. And I would love to talk to the chefs about how they felt. Like, were their hands tied? Did they feel the same way that you're empathetic to the chefs? Like, how are you going to bring in these natural dyed colors and have these vibrant colors in the cook without ruining the flavor or changing the flavor in a way that would be negative?
You know, we had an episode like that on World All-Stars where they gave us all these molds. And like Buddha was in heaven. Okay, Buddha was like, oh my God, look at all these molds. Everybody else was like, well, that's just not how we cooked. But they gave us all of these molds and they were like, you don't have to use them, but they were there for us to use. So I remember like Ali made like a mold of like a little turtle that was like living on his thing. And I made molds of like mirepoix because I did like a matzah tamale thing. And like mirepoix, like why did I do that? Why didn't I just like, it made no sense. But we felt obligated to use those, even though it wasn't part of it. So I'm wondering if they felt obligated to just use those, even though they all have a million ways of making food very vibrant on the plate. Like we all know how to do that as chefs, but somehow it's like they dulled the colors. Yeah.
In a way, I felt like this was a good advertisement for artificial colors.
RFK paid for this.
Yeah.
He paid for this.
He's like, hey, this is why we have artificial colors in foods, because it's hard to bring those out without affecting the flavors. But it felt like to me that's a really hard thing to do, is to use naturally. When they're out there on the table, it looked like you could have a rainbow of colors, but when you cook them, also, it loses some of that.
Yeah, but all those purples and blues, all they needed was a little vinegar, right? And like to make those, I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened. That gray parsnip was the worst.
Yeah.
The gray parsnip I was just like, what is happening?
Okay, so we had just to run through quickly, Brandon, the deconstructed lasagna, Nana with the chicken galantine that never was, with the yassi onion puree. Second time it's happened, and I'm sure the Emeril and Jamie and Jeff and Amira, they didn't know that this was a thing for her until it happened, and they're like, yeah, this already happened. Anthony did the mole. Jennifer did the pickled shrimp bun, where she was just like, I'm happy to get it out there. So props to her for coming back in the competition. And she wasn't sent home despite the time away. It was a little too dense. And Lawrence did the bows. Brittany did the pan-seared scallops with the broccoli, the chlorophyll, puree, daikon, carrots, saffron broth. Not colorful enough. Justin, lamb and clams. An interesting combo there.
It rhymes.
There you go. Sherry, we talked about Jonathan with it had the pickled onion that popped, right? Yep. It was a very aesthetically pleasing dish. Didn't really bring the same flavor. Oscar did the tri-colored red snapper that. The leche de tigre and the cut, you could tell that was not Oscar's finest moment either.
No, but I think that dish had potential, But like, why didn't he cure it in why didn't he use some beet? Every chef knows.
Where was the beet in this episode?
Nobody used
How
is that
the possible?
Beet. It's the easiest one.
It's the most powerful, and it comes out magenta. Like you could use that as.
They had yellow
so
and
many
red.
questions.
Yeah.
Rhoda, the mussels, it felt like she was coasting on this one. The flavor didn't come together, but she got two. I think, Jeff said flavors didn't come together, but she got 2 colors on the plate, which that was the episode. The flavors didn't come together, but they got 2 colors on the plate, I guess, it felt like that was the theme of this, which is like, it didn't really work, but I guess you got 2 colors. The sauce was broken. It had a funk to it that they didn't love. And Dwen with the brioche stuff, roasted chicken, lemon tagine, and charcoal parsnip puree. The gray parsnip, as I wrote down, opposite of color.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone else got in the bottom.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I think they're all, it's everybody. It was tough to watch. And it was tough because this is like right? So it's Top Chef. Like that's one of the things about it. Like thousands and thousands of people try to get on this show, and then they handpick everybody and they really vet like people. And so you don't make it to a place like this without being like a fabulous chef. And they all failed, as I think Tom said. And so I just don't know that this was the chefs were at fault on this one.
Yeah, Tom really came out in this one. He called it was Sherry's dish. He called Flaccid. The pork was flaccid. And it's like, Tom doesn't bring out that sort of terminology unless he really feels like this was not their best cook. And when I talked to him at the premiere, he said this season has so many extremes. Like some days the pepper challenge, the pepper episode was phenomenal. Like some of the best cooking we've ever seen on Top Chef. And then sometimes it was the opposite, where it was just like, it was the bottom of the barrel. I felt like this was the episode of the other extreme, that we finally got an episode where it was like, oh yeah, nothing really worked on this episode for them.
Yeah. And I'm going to get my other thing and then I'm going to go back to Happy Sarah, maybe. But there was a comment that Sherry made and it just lit me up inside. And as soon as she said it, I thought, there's no way this dish is going to happen, because I felt like there was like a mental block on this dish. And I don't think that Sherry was cooking her food. And so she said, I had the privilege of working at Per Se for 4 years. And I thought, privilege? Like, you were there I'm like, I know that, like, you were there working. It's not a privilege to it felt to me like she was trying to go back to this place where she had learned all these things and she wasn't cooking her food. And I think that's probably what Sherry's biggest asset is going to be, is that she cooks her food. But when she said, I had the privilege of working there, I thought, sister, they had the privilege of having you there. Like, we have to flip this thing about like these restaurants. And like, I'm so thankful for everybody that comes. I am privileged because I have people that want to work for me and stay there for 4 years, So like, I just felt like this dish for her was not her. And she was like, I'm going to get as many things as I can on the plate and try to make it all come together. And so when she said that, I was like,
you got to coach her up.
She's not winning this one. Yeah.
You got to coach her up. She's on your team.
Yeah.
And that's some good coaching. It's just, don't feel like you'd say, hey, sister, you belong here.
Yeah.
Like, don't act like you have to bring someone per se it up. Just bring Sherry it up, Yeah. Happy note. Lawrence's mom has a Chinese rock band in their basement, and the restaurant, the bakery that he basically was raised in, like he grew up, and she maintained, I need a basement in my restaurant. So to have my rock band play after hours. Is that your favorite detail of the season? I think it might be my favorite detail of the season.
I think Lawrence is just, he's something else. He's like talking about having his car seat in his little tiny like car, and I think he's probably just unique. I feel like he's fun to sit around and like hang out with.
Yeah, he seems like a good time, and a dad. So a lot of dad jokes, I'm sure, and just parental little jokes. And it's been really fun to watch him, even though he's not on my team. I don't even want it. You had 1 point. Let's see. I'm going to pull it up here on my laptop. You had 1 point in this episode, like net 1 point.
Oh, really?
I had minus 13. So I'm at 14. You're at 60. All right. Moving on.
If you're watching, you guys can see my smile. I'm looking right into the camera right now. I'm smiling.
Oh, man. Yes, definitely go check out Carly and Kendra's podcast, Track Your Knives, which is a breakdown of the power rankings, which is crowdsourced. It's our Pack Your Knives audience can vote and fill out their ballots of who they think is going to win the challenge, and at the bottom be eliminated. And then you can kind of see this power rankings, this aggregate score for all the chefs. And we're getting on Instagram at Pack Your Knives on Instagram. We're getting the chef testants. Do you like chef testants or no?
I mean, that's what they call us. Okay. It like sticks, yeah.
I don't think you like it.
I don't hate it.
Okay.
I mean,
contestant?
No, chef tested better. It's cool. I guess it's cool.
Chef testants are in the chat, in the comment section, talking about it and arguing about it. We had Lawrence, I think, and Anthony were in there, giving Anthony some props because he's number one. He's the fan favorite in the sense of they think he's going to win every episode, which is, do you think it's because I picked him number one? Do you think it's there's a bias there? Or do you think I picked him because there's a resume there that other people look at and say, yeah, I think Anthony's got what it brings? It's pretty interesting to see that Anthony was number one in this week's episode. I
mean, well, Carly and them were talking, and Kendra were talking about that. They said they didn't know if they were swayed by listening to our draft, or if that was by their own research, but a lot of people have him up there pretty high. It's really funny on Reddit. They'll be like, talking about the show, and somebody else say something. They'll be like, somebody else will chime in and be like, Sarah like creeps around on Reddit. And then I'll be like, I'm here. And then I just go back away for 6 months. But it's really fun as one of the chef testants to get to see it like all playing out, because it's this experience you have, and now you get to share it with the world. So it's really a lot of fun. Yeah. So I'm glad they're engaging it.
You had been engaging in it for sure in your seasons if we had the same thing.
Absolutely.
Oh, you'd be nerding out big time.
Absolutely.
Track Your Knives. Go check that out. Also, we have an interview with Chris Coleman of the Goodyear House, and he's on the episode, the opening episode. Really interesting interview. Kind of one of the legendary chefs locally here in Charlotte, and he's also been on all the TV shows. If you haven't watched yet Chris Coleman, the interview, or listened to it, go check that out on Pack Your Knives. We're also on YouTube, so go subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pack Your Knives, part of the Count the Dings group. And Sarah, I think we're ready to turn the page, just us two talking about this, but I do want to get Jamie in here to kind of tell us what the experience was to host Top Chef and eat the food, because we didn't get to eat the food. And guess who did?
I know.
Jamie.
I know.
So we got lots of questions for her. And we'll bring her on right after the break. We are back here with Jamie Brown of Supperland. Thank you so much for hosting us, Sarah. This is crazy. This is great.
Well, usually this place is filled with people, but this is lovely getting to just sit here and chat with you guys straight in the middle of the dining room.
And you were on Top Chef.
That was pretty surreal. Pretty amazing, pretty surreal. It's a day I will never forget, that's for sure. But sometimes I just feel like I'm not even sure if it actually happened.
Right?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, there's a lag. Like you tape in August and September, and then it doesn't come out until the springtime. You were, I'm sure, in pins and needles, like waiting to see how it would air and how everything would come out on air. There's a big gap between when you're on the show and when you actually get to see it.
Like once an episode would finally air, like I could feel my body, like the intensity, like my whole, because listen, y'all, I will say a lot of stuff, like a lot of things come out of my mouth. And so I never knew exactly what I was going to say. And so I, just be like, or how it was going to be edited or how it was going to be cut, how are you going to be portrayed? What happened that you didn't see? So it's a lot of fun to finally see it come out. How'd you feel about them down in your kitchen?
I was fine with it, and I was just glad we had our executive chef here that day. And there was a lot of prep work we had to do to get ready for this. There's hundreds of people on their team, and then you've got all these people going to use your kitchen for the first time. So our executive chef was here making sure that everything was ready to go downstairs and make sure everybody knew how to use all the different equipment and everything. And up here in the dining room, we actually had to remove 2 of the large pews here. So we have 120-year-old church pews in here as part of our seating. So 2 different ones had to actually be unbolted from the floor, and we moved them over to what was called Video Village, which is in the bar next door.
Right. Where the production happens.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where all the production was. And my goodness, it's just there's so much space required. I think they could only do filming like this in a couple different restaurants in Charlotte because they had to be big enough, but this space was big enough. So those pews were moved over there so that they could have this whole center area for the table.
Yeah, it seems like so you're no rookie when it comes to like TV shows. You have the show that you have on PBS, and so you've had a lot of experience working with a TV production crew in your restaurants. What was Top Chef different? Like, what was different about that?
There were a few things. One, when you don't know the crew, it just feels a little bit more nerve-wracking. When you get to know the crew that's with you a lot of times, the editors, the producer, the camera people, it's familiar. They're friendly. They're your friends.
Yeah.
So this was all new people. Plus the equipment was so big. I mean, there were lights hanging from the rafters, and in the windows, the designer had put in, and I can see them very subtly, but they're little gold panels that they put, like amber colored panels that they put in the windows to just give it a glowier light in here. And then of course the table setting itself was just gorgeous. Yes. All the set, when we film for Fork and Hammer, it's our life and like what we're doing. So there's no fanciful things happening. We are doing the tastings for our restaurants. It's actually, we're testing out dishes for a specific event or for a seasonal change or whatever they might be filming. So that's just our life. And it's just us and our haggard selves sitting at a table, tasting the food. And, we don't have all the beautiful settings and necessarily the lighting is very real. So
yeah, like I'm picturing, so those like big sweeping shots they always get. There's like this huge jib in the corner. Like it's like if you don't know what it is, like a big crane that holds, or not a crane, like a seesaw type thing.
Yep. And
it's like holding the camera. And then they have this thing, it's called the Ronin. Do they do those where, it's this balanced camera and there's one man holding this like 80 or 100-pound camera and he's like doing through. So it's a production. Like it's definitely the largest one I've ever worked on.
For sure. It was gigantic, but really, really amazing to see it come together. And I think one of the most fun things was, of course, seeing Brittany as part of the team there, because we know she's over at Stagione's. But then also we had a number of our servers there actually serving the food. So I actually noticed when they brought the food over, I think one of the most comforting things for me was to see them there. And I remember them bringing the plates by and say, "Thank you, Thomas." And I heard that, "Thank you, Thomas," when he sets the plate down. And I think that's something that was really comforting and just joyful for me to have them be a part of all that.
What was the biggest pinch me moment of hosting Top Chef? Because I'd imagine when you and your partner Jeff are deciding, hey, let's go like start some restaurants or let's try to do this whole thing. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, imagine hosting Top Chef in your restaurant?
No, I mean, Jeff and I have been together for over 20 years, and we've got 3 kids together. We've got 6 restaurant concepts, and restaurants are what we do. And now we've got the PBS show as well. But getting to host Top Chef was just absolutely an honor, and to have them here. And the night before we filmed, Jeff left and he said, "Oh, I've got to go over to Supperland because I just got a text that Tom Colicchio is going to be dining there." So he went over here to see him, and Jeff got over to the table. And Emeril was at the table. And like you guys have talked about, just the status of Emeril, the name, the myth, everything. He's been to a lot of us as we were growing up and seeing him on TV. It was just incredible just to have him there. And I think probably the moment that I won't forget is we were sitting at the table. One of the dishes came out and, as you guys have talked about, had fallen short.
Yep.
And he ended up winking at me across the table, a moment he will never remember and I will never forget. But it lit me up. It made me feel comfortable. It made me feel at ease. It also kind of made me feel like we're okay. We all belong here. We're okay, even though this is a strange moment, being at this table. But
in a big game, Michael Jordan's playing a big game, and you play basketball too, so you know this. You warm up, you take some shots, you practice, right? You get to the free throw line and you practice your shots. Did you, in front of a mirror, Jamie, practice your food judging skills and your cooking?
I had no idea what this was going to be like. I was like, Jamie, this is one of those moments you just show up and you pretend like you know what you're doing, but just show up. And that's kind of what we did. But they all made it so easy. And the way they set the table in the room, it was so beautiful. I felt so honored that they used our Supperland plates on the dining room table.
Oh, I didn't put, yes. Yeah.
So they weren't on, they weren't used in the actual, dishes themselves because they have print on them. So a lot of chefs have a hard time plating on them because they're not a solid white plate. But they use them on the table setting itself. So that makes me so happy because that was a lot of work to do that. We have here at Supperland, we have 11 different patterns that we have. We had them created by an artist in London named Lou Rota. She designed all these plates. This was like us getting bored during COVID. We designed all the plates for Supperland. So I was just thrilled that they were able to use those dinner plates on the table.
It was
setting.
A beautiful set. I mean, holy
colorful.
Crap.
That was the idea, right? Colorful.
Yeah. I did say that it made your restaurant pop even more in color because the dishes themselves weren't as colorful and vibrant and rich in color as the whole idea was this is a textile mill town, Charlotte, and we want to show the rich tapestry of the color and textile industry in town. And Sarah and I mean, you heard it. We as a viewer didn't feel like they rose to the challenge. But as Sarah pointed out, I don't know if that's the chef's issue because they're just working literally with the ingredients that they're told to work with. While you're eating it, was there a sense as the evening or the day, I don't know if it was a daytime or a night shoot, were you like, oh yeah, this was not as much color as maybe I was hoping for?
Yes, it was a daytime shoot, and you could sense it from every judge at that table that things were just falling flat. I think they were expecting the muted colors because, nature, while there are some things that are super vibrant, most food, when you dye it with a natural food coloring, it is pretty muted. You could see that so clearly with the bao buns, for instance, that was the best representation of the challenge, but they were still muted. But he had delivered on the challenge, better than anybody else. The pasta too.
Yeah.
That Brandon did clearly, like that was the first dish out to the table. So
yes.
They were all like, wow. And they were so excited, like this is working. And then it all went.
When you're a chef, are you hoping to be, you want to be the first one out, right?
No, I like to be the last. I was always last. I always wanted to be last.
Did you get to choose?
No. So so a lot of it is done by ping pong ball method. So you reach in and you pick, and if you go first, maybe like if you get drawn first for to present your plates or whatever that goes through, and then they do for plate picking also. So they'll pull one out.
Multiple drafts.
So you have to pick because there's only so many plates. And so you get picked, and you can pick numerous plates, but it's like a snake. Like you get to pick first, well, then it goes all the way down, and the number 14 gets to pick once, and then they get to pick again, and it comes back down.
Integrity of the show. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. They remove so many of the variables from it. But that's what's so amazing is that it is such an even playing, like it's so fair.
They try to keep it very fair.
Yep, they try to. They really, the integrity of Top Chef. And I think all of the shows, there's a bunch of money on the line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta be fair.
So the first dishes, we don't have to go through dish by dish, but just even the first two, the contrast of you had, it was Brandon's dish, the pasta dish, the deconstructed lasagna. I think you might have had a quip it was really fun to pour that olive oil onto the dish. So that one sticks out to you?
That one from the very beginning. I was like, that was probably my favorite of the actual presentations of everything. But those, to me, the two, there were three that they had called out as being better, but the bao buns and then that pasta dish were really the two I thought that did the best of infusing color into a dish. Anthony's obviously mole was also beautifully colorful and everything, but those first two, they were really like infused, like dyed foods. But yeah, I think it was a great dish, and the way that you poured it around and so forth. A very interesting thing, and I told them at the beginning, which was a whole different challenge that I was going through in my head, is that I eat gluten-free and dairy-free, and I have a number of food sensitivities. So here I am, that girl at the table, and every chef hates that, having to have those challenges. But I did the best I could, and ate around things and tried to do what I do also in our restaurant group, which is I'm not typically the one tasting. I try to listen to hear what other people are saying about dishes, and I'm looking for plating, and I'm looking for the color contrast and the beauty there on the dish, or how, for us, the way a dish tells the story of a restaurant.
Right. And the energy case, and all that. Yeah.
Yes, that kind of feel of it. So, but those few dishes were very well done.
So Brandon comes out and then Nana comes out at this time. Could you feel the?
Yeah, you just feel awful. It's just a terrible feeling because you see the thing it's sitting in front of you, and it's not just that it's sitting there. It's also that it's sitting there and there's splatters on your plate too, so you can see the hustle that had happened, like the remnants of sheer desperation right there on a white plate with splatters.
And then you have to go out and stand in front of everyone and talk about it. And that's like what I was talking about, the intensity of like seeing it later on, like she had to relive that moment. And she'll have to, I'm so sorry, sis, you're going to have to relive it. But I don't know if that dish had come out, the greens were green that were inside the Valentine.
I don't think she even saw.
No.
Yeah. But we saw her like cutting it back in the, but yeah, But she was brave, you're right. She stood there and she just took it as it was. I think she had already swallowed any bit of sadness downstairs and came up and was pretty brave standing there,
Speaking of downstairs, can you give us like just a rundown of the setup here at the restaurant and what the elements that they were dealing with as the cook or in the cook as chefs?
So this is a really unusual kitchen because what we did when we designed the spaces in this main dining room, we wanted it to be that when you walked in that front door, you could see the fire kitchen in the back. And it's even raised up one step so that you can't miss it, and we intentionally have chandeliers too that are a little bit lower. They don't compete at all with your view into that kitchen. But this is just half the kitchen. Up here, it's all fire cooking. That's all we have. But downstairs is where we have everything from our combi ovens to the saute line to pastry, prep, dish, all that stuff's downstairs. So it's kind of not necessarily the pretty stuff. So this is kind of our show kitchen. But the chefs were all downstairs to do their cooking, and then they brought it up here to the dining room.
And that's one thing that I remember. How many kitchens in Charlotte are big enough to host Top Chef? So was that a consideration for you? Is like, I would love to have them, but I don't know if we have the kitchen that you might need.
They looked at a number of different restaurants. They came over to Haberdish when they were scouting our restaurant over in Noda. They also went to our restaurant, Leluya Hall, which is newly opened over in the Dilworth neighborhood. And I don't know if it was size or the space or the layout or whatever, but they selected this one. I think it was really challenging for them to find any restaurants that are big enough to be able to host their whole crew and be able to film the way that we wanted to film.
I never even considered that.
Well, I think right now there's still so many chefs, right? So
it's big.
There's this staggered start too. Like they have to stretch the starts even farther out because there's only so many people you can put in there. But I've seen some really, really, really tight spots, like where they have a lot of people, and it's just not fun. It's like hard. But there's no clean pots, there's no clean pans. I mean, I think my biggest fear would have been to your. I'm the executive chef, like I'm your chef down there, and I'm watching people just. There's just like it's almost like your mind turns off, and all of the courtesies you've learned as a chef just go out the door. You're like,
all these strangers in my kitchen.
Well, no, like as a chef cooking, like you just forget it. You're just like, I just got to get this on the plate, And so, I think that would be so hard to go down there and have to watch that.
Yeah, and as you're hosting them, you're like, you kind of have to get your hands off the wheel, right? Because they're running the show once they're in your restaurant.
We just basically rented this space out, which we do for random things or events or whatever. This was their space to use as they wished, and they were so respectful of it. They everything was cleaned up, ready to go for us to begin again. So they brought in extra dishes as they needed and so forth. So it was relatively easy, but not for those chefs.
Yeah, how was Emeril?
Oh, just wonderful, very quiet. But I mean, just an incredible
Had you ever
honor
met him before?
No,
or
of course not. No, maybe you guys have. I have not. But yeah, it was just unbelievable just to have him there at the table with us. And Jeff was sitting right next to him. And I think he just felt so proud to just get to be sitting there. I remember when Jeff and I were in college, he would watch the Food Network all the time when all the other guys were watching sports. And I always thought, wow, this guy's kind of a unique guy. But that's what we grew up on, was Alton Brown and Ina Garten and Emeril. And so it was just incredible to have him there.
I thought you guys did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Given the food that was on the plate, I thought there was not a moment where I didn't feel like, hey, they're out of their depth here, or like this is they really they went too. It didn't land. The Supperland setting didn't land, or the judges, it didn't work. It felt like a really good representation of Charlotte and of what you guys bring to the table, quite literally. Did you come away with any sort of, when you got done with the day, what kind of emotions were you going through? Just relief that we did it?
Yeah, I was relieved that everything went well and that they were happy with it and how it went. I know the challenge itself was a little challenging, but that they were happy with how the shoot went and that the space held up well for their whole team. They were a great group of people to work with, and they made it really easy. So, I was just, I think, relieved and went home and put my feet up, and just relaxed for a minute, tried to remember it all.
You have two restaurants. How many restaurant concepts in NODA?
So we've actually got 4 concepts in NODA. One here in Plaza Midwood, where we are at Supperland, and then Layluya Hall over in Dilworth.
She lived in NODA when she was at culinary school. Yeah.
No way.
So
how about that?
Got to be at least almost 20 years ago.
Okay, we got into the business in 2009. It was at the bottom of the recession, and we opened up a little tiny restaurant over there with just 11 tables. That was our beginning. So we're 15 years in now. So
9. I'm trying to decide. I think I would have been gone by then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you proud of Charlotte and how it's grown up since you were here?
I love driving around. There's one little place that we've driven past like a couple times over by your house. It's like a pizza joint. Hawthorne, maybe? I don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah.
But I remember taking my parents there one time, like just being like, well, we'll go to, it was like the first place we saw. My dad was like, I want pizza. And every time I drive past, but other than that, I really don't recognize very many things. It has changed so much. If you get a chance to come here though and like eat, so we ate it. I've eaten here. I ate at your restaurant.
Thank you for coming.
It has been released that I participate in the show in this season in some capacity, which I will not talk about. But I did come eat dinner here. You were recommended by Gail and Tom and Kristen. They're like, you should go to Supperland.
That's so nice.
Told us. They didn't. I don't think they told me that you guys had filmed here, but we had a great meal. One of the gentlemen that was on, that was serving you was who took care of me that night.
Was it Thomas?
I think
tall
so.
guy, and he just had a baby too. Okay, yeah, wonderful. I'm so glad we have an incredible team. I mean, honestly, throughout our team, there's 330 people that work with us at all of our restaurants, and they're the ones that make it all happen. It's the chefs back in the kitchen, it's the people bringing the food. So we're just really proud of our team.
And you feel like Charlotte is ready for Top Chef?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I love this city. I am like so optimistic about this city. The growth that we've had here, it's a great place for people to live. But there's also so much for people to do when they visit too. So. Yeah,
and it's growing so fast. So fast. I mean, you're part of this restaurant group and running it. You see how it's quite literally changing. The land, the skyline's changing. So when Top Chef, it was announced that they were coming to Charlotte, what was your reaction? Was it, because for me, it was a little bit of anxiety of like, oh, we got to really like show out. This is a big moment for us in the city. Cause I've been here for 10 years, less than you have. And so it kind of feels like you almost really have this responsibility to represent, and.
Yes, there is that for sure. And there's a little bit of pressure riding on everybody who's in the restaurant scene, I think, right now, because yes, there's Top Chef, and there's also the Michelin awards that came out in the fall as well. And 3 of our places are on that guide that came out. And I think everybody's just rising. And you see these little restaurants throughout the city, and they're all in the little neighborhoods. I think that's something that people don't realize that's so special about our city is the amazing, unique neighborhoods that we have, whether you're in Plaza Midwood or over in Noda, Dilworth, Elizabeth, Cherry. There's all these little neighborhoods that people can go to, and they all have their own feel. And I think that's where you're seeing really interesting, restaurant concepts sprouting up and really creating that unique fabric here in the town.
Yeah. Anything else from the episode that you or we can tell you you did a great job. Like your quips and stuff, you did a great job. And I think this was just. I don't want to sour on your experience because...
Oh, my experience was not soured. I don't care if it would have been the worst one that ever happened in Top Chef. In my mind, it was amazing. So I'm thrilled that we got to be a part of it.
I have to ask, though, because I feel like maybe you like Brandon's dish better than Lawrence's.
Well...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was just a creative use of the pasta and so forth. I thought that was really cool. Maybe it was because it was the first impression, first dish brought to the table. But I think both of those two rivaled each other. Yeah. And I did love the flavors of the moles. Like that was beautiful, but I just didn't think it got quite the infusion of color that the other ones did. But
how was that watching your husband doing the critiquing too? Were you just sitting back and like, I wonder how he's going to...
Well, when you're in the middle of all that, you don't know what they're going to keep and what they're going to cut and all that. So you just speaking, you're like, oh gosh, I hope that wasn't too dumb, or I'm sure if it's so dumb, they'll cut it. Right. But, I'm so used to, we do tastings every single Thursday is our tasting day, and we just rotate the restaurant. So that he was like in his gear. That is what he does. He runs the culinary across all of our restaurants, and we have chefs at each one of the spots. And so he's always working hand in hand with them. So he was in his element. Like he was pumped to get to be a part of it. That is like his role. But I know you guys were talking a little bit about liver mush.
Yes. Oh yeah. Can we get into this a little bit?
Well, just for a minute, I feel like it's important because it is very much a Southern staple here. I actually pulled up an old picture because we used to have it on our menu at Haberdish.
Oh, at Haberdish, yes. Okay, yes. So you had liver mush at Haberdish as...
It was on the menu.
Yeah.
We served it on the menu, which is really rare because a lot of restaurants will not put liver mush on a menu because... Why would you put liver mush on a menu? But we wanted it to really root itself here in the South. And as we had done research around this region, that was one of the key dishes. So we did a pork liver mush there that was, we would cook it like a terrine in a water bath, and then we would slice it and cook it in a pan and sear it off. So it always had that crispy bite, which was key for this dish. But I think one of the big things about liver mush is, and we all know this, but it was not necessarily the choice meat. So sometimes doing the things that would cover the flavors is kind of the idea. We would set ours up with a Carolina gold rice instead of a cornmeal. So that was a little bit unique. But then we would serve it with house-made pickles and pickled onions. So those flavors always masked over the liver mush itself.
Well, we did creep your liver mush picture because Tom was like, she's got it on. They'd have it over at and then we couldn't find it. And
yeah,
so
we
then
took
we were
it. It
creeping
didn't
it
sell. Believe it or not, people wouldn't buy it.
I love putting those kinds of dishes on the menu.
It's fun to tell a story.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the food should do. Like, I feel like this space really tells a story. So.
Yeah, Tom Colicchio has talked about this, is that because Instagram and the business of running restaurants, it's harder to take those risks with putting liver mush on a menu. And sometimes it's just, you want to have something on the menu because it tells a story. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't sell, you have a tough choice to make.
Because you're also wasting. And that's the big part. If you're not selling through, then you're ending up wasting it, and it's not worth having it on the menu. But
yeah. There's a couple, what's the right word? Liver mush companies that distribute, but I don't think it's not something that you could go to Harris Teeter or Publix or Food Lion. I went yesterday to go find some, and I wasn't able to find it in the stores yesterday. I went to a couple places, and so it does feel like something that is generational, that my grandfather would make it for me, but I don't think it's something that if I went to a friend's house, to be like, hey, you're hungover, let's go have some liver mush. Oscar said,
I'm gonna try to make it. It's gonna happen.
You're gonna make it delicious. You will.
I'm gonna try.
You can.
Yeah,
That's
I'm probably not going to use pork liver.
Okay. What would you go
chicken liver? Yeah. Chicken liver. Yeah. But it's still liver mush, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of being a chef, is that we'll take something and we'll elevate it and make it better. And I think I can do it.
Oh, I know you can.
I'll pack some up and I'll mail it to you in a big cooler.
Yeah.
And then you can judge it.
I will try it. Right. Send it to our house, please. Really.
Do you have a Starburst flavor that you particularly like?
I like the pink ones.
Yeah. High five.
Are you a pink?
I'm pink.
Yeah.
I
Yellow.
like pink.
All the yellow.
All the yellow. Yeah.
You would just get one color?
Yeah. I'll tell you what my 4-year-old daughter loves to do. Skittles. You know, she has like her little water bottle in the back.
Yeah.
And she likes to put all the Skittles in it and like make flavored water. But essentially, once they all go in there, they kind of just turn to like a brown.
Yeah.
And she's like so proud of
course,
her like
4-year-old's
flavored.
like, look at that.
Oh yeah, it's like flavored water, but it's just like brown Skittles water. I let her drink it. I don't care. It's fabulous.
Yeah. Walking in here, the colors and everything. I got to ask, the purple cushions here. How did you land on that?
Well, it was kind of a brave call, but it's one of those purples that, it has that eggplant color to it. So it's enough of a neutral. I wanted it to feel colorful, but also like a neutral. And hopefully you kind of get that all around this space, is like you see these little touches, but they're actually kind of subtle, nothing like really, really pops, but it's kind of all kind of plays nicely together.
I thought it was like, I feel like purple is something that it's like a color I kind of associate with like a church vibe.
Absolutely.
Like
yes.
the purple, the ladies with the purple hats and so for me, I was like, oh, this makes perfect sense. It just feels like this really kind of hip way.
Almost regal.
Yeah.
But then, we can make it more hip here instead of just the regal church vibes.
Well, we're going to go hit the town, and we are so glad we were able to do this. So thank you for hosting Pack Your Knives.
So glad to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, we love doing this, and congratulations on being on Top Chef and being a part of it, and right next to Emeril Lagasse. That is so cool.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
For Jamie Brown, Sarah Bradley, I'm Tom Habisher, and this is Pack Your Knives.